Good morning, everyone. Good evening. It's an honor to represent Politecnico di Milano at this important event. I sincerely thank the president of Xi'an Tong University, Professor Wan Chu Guo, and the vice president, Professor Shi Guan. Xi'an Tong University and Politecnico di Milano are long-time partners in education and research. The joint school of Design Innovation Center that we opened in September 2019 in Xi'an is a clear demonstration. Likewise, the University Alliance of the Silk Road, the joint school addresses an international context and share similar mission. But today is not only an honor to be here with you, it is a great responsibility. It's a responsibility for Politecnico di Milano to lead this important alliance. The University Alliance of the Silk Road embraces the true spirit of the Silk Road. It reflects the original ideas of the President Xi Jinping by putting together universities and countries from all over the world. An alliance that is based on values such as openness and friendship, mutual learning and common benefit. Values that are essential to face the global crisis due to the pandemic. Indeed, COVID-19 represents an historical moment for the world and for our alliance to design tomorrow's university. As you know, we originally planned to organize this meeting in Milano. We wanted to show you a city in transformation, seizing the advantage of technological development, undergoing a significant process of urban rebirth. Unfortunately, it turned out we couldn't. COVID-19 arrived and changed our life. That's why we decided to set the President Forums online. At the end of February, we were the first country in Europe to face the virus. At Politecnico di Milano, in a couple of weeks, we turned all teachings into virtual classes. We gave students the opportunity to take exams and graduate online. We saved the semester. Later on, in September, we inaugurated a new phase. We opened our doors to freshmen and students attending classes in a blended mode. To put it short, we did the best we could to bring the campus back to life. Unfortunately, due to a sudden rise of the number of infected people, at the end of October, the Italian government forced us to a new lockdown. A difficult situation. We are all tired and disappointed, which I guess it is the same all over the world. So now the main question is not how to face the emergency, but how to deal with its consequences on the long run. That's why at Politecnico di Milano, we are now working hard on a program aimed at design implementing what we call post-COVID university, which I hope we'll be able to share with Xi'an Tong University, as well as our partner in Europe and in this important alliance. In order to do this, we need a common approach. I'm sure we all agree on the value of competence and knowledge to face global challenges, on the importance of international cooperation and partnership to shape mature and real-world societies, on the role of universities, of teaching, of research as basic tools to start anything. I'm also sure there are priorities and goals we all share. I think we'll agree on the fact that distance learning is a life jacket in a stormy sea. It is an effective tool in case of emergency, but it cannot represent the answer for the future. The education is a physical activity, a social process that requires face-to-face discussion and sharing. That we cannot replace a real class with only digital learning, even if, of course, it would be a mistake not to consider digital and communication technology as a precious aid. I guess we should find a way to combine both things. I also think we all agree on the need to restore student mobility as soon as possible. Universities are open and international places. Now more than ever, we need to foster international relations and projects. These are just some hints. I'm sure more ideas will come up during this meeting. That's why I want to thank everyone in advance for your precious contribution to the discussion. So I now leave the floor to Professor Shi Guang. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Distinguished fellow members of UASR, dear friends, good afternoon, maybe good evening, or good morning. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the rotating chair, President Ferruccio Resta of Politecnico for his excellent speech and brief introduction about UASR. It has been 5 years since we established the Universal Alliance of Silk Road. Due to the pandemic, however, we have to meet through video link for the first time. But first of all, on behalf of UASR and Xianjiaotong University, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the members of UASR and convey my sympathy condolence to those who have been suffering from the pandemic. I would like to extend my greetings to all our partners who have been supporting the development of UASR. In 2020, the world experienced an unprecedented COVID-19 outbreak, but during the pandemic, the Alliance, united as a family, was filled with care, warmth, and love. What impressed me most was the president of member universities who continuously encouraged it through letters and videos, shared experience, built up confidence, and worked hand in hand to overcome these hard days. The Secretariat of UASR also collaborated with Politecnico Italy, the rotating chair for 2020, in developing new ways of communication. The Alliance held summer online courses, and the President's Forum was also held as scheduled. During the pandemic, Xianjiaotong University has always given top priority to the health and life safety of his faculties and students, and implement a series of measures for pandemic prevention and control. We set up nearly 3,000 online courses for students at home and abroad, and we did not delay even a single course. In addition, a team of more than 300 medical workers from our university affiliate hospital was dispatched to Wuhan, Hubei province, to help fighting against the pandemic. And also the personified selfless devotion, commitment, and professionalism. The pandemic has changed the international situation, the mode and cooperation and communication, and also the way the higher education exists and develops. Now, higher education in the context of pandemic is facing a crossroads. Where we should go, what we should do. I hope this forum will provide a platform on which we can communicate and gain new inspiration. Now, I would like to make 4 points about the development of universities in wake of pandemic. First, we should highlight the concept of community with the shared future of mankind for higher education in post-pandemic era. Universities should strengthen cooperation and jointly guard against the global risks. Living in the same world, in global village, everyone is equal before disaster. Not a single country, not a single university could isolate itself from the rest of the world because we share the common future. Therefore, confront with common challenges like this pandemic, only solidarity and cooperation can lead us through and get us better prepared for the future. As a member of UASR, it's our duty to work together in the prevention and resistance of global risks. The second, in current with the fourth industrial revolution in a post-pandemic era, the notion and methods of education are bound to go through a revolution at high speed. The fourth industrial revolution has changed the way people work, study, and live. And the outbreak of the pandemic accelerates the change of pedagogic methods, ways of cooperation and communication. In most universities, traditional face-to-face teaching has been replaced by online courses and online meetings and online discussions. And we are getting used to it. Time and place are no longer limited for education. Whenever there is access to internet, education is possible, and that's what revolution means. In a sense, we can be more confident in improving the quality and the efficiency of education. Today, the relationship between universities and society is closer than ever before. Only by meeting the demands of economic growth and social development can universities continue to develop and make breakthroughs. Thirdly, the pandemic brings with it examples and models for education and students. The pandemic serves as a likely textbook for higher education, with which students get the chance to learn and grow. They have learned a lot. They witness the truth settlement for the poor and this the difficulty. The truth settlement that shares no border and requires no pay through the heroic deeds of pandemic doctors, medical assistants, and solidarity among these nations. They experienced the sense of social responsibility with courage, love, and commitment. They also learned how to endure hardship and survive disasters with open mind and optimistic outlook. Finally, the pandemic, in my mind, also is a test set by this new era for higher education. We simply cannot avoid. As one of the leaders of Xianjiao University, I had been pondering what roles universities should play and what responsibility we should share in this pandemic. My answer is universities should integrate with the society, help address social problems, and lead social progress. Therefore, Xianjiao University has made a series of explorations in recent years. Within no more than 1,000 days, we finished the construction of a new campus we call the West China Science and Technology Innovation Hub, simply called a hub. But iHarbor is more than a campus. It covers an area of over 330 hectares, supporting 29 research institutes and over 300 research platforms. Here also we built joint laboratories with enterprise, national key research centers, and also Jianjiaotong Polymer Joint Design Center is a platform supporting global cooperation and experimenting with a new model of integration between universities and community. More importantly, on this campus, you can see no walls surrounding it. iHarbor is open to the whole world. We warmly welcome visitors and collaborations from all of you. Dear friends, we hope members university can make full use of user platform to communicate, share, and cooperate in the new era. We should aim at the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, dedicate to addressing common challenges, provide think tank for global governance, and engage in a more effective, influential cooperation. We will make unremitting efforts for big achievements and new prosperity for multi-vision results of international higher education with the renewed user project. In the end, I wish the year's User Presidents Forum and series activities complete success. Thank you, all of you, very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Resta and Professor Xu Huang. It's a great pleasure to chair the session involving so high relevant delegates. It's according to your messages, we have to discuss about relevant challenges of our universities in the post-COVID society. Hybrid learning, digital technologies are changing the society, industrial systems, and of course, how we will educate talents. So I'm pretty sure that all the panelists that will follow me will address relevant challenges and will provide the United Alliance of the Silk Road with relevant insights to discuss in the next future. Before then starting the session, let me warmly thank Professor Sergio Pignari, who is the Rector's Delegate of Politecnico di Milano in relation to Xianjiaotong project. Let me thank Livia De Zan as a very relevant assistant which made this conference possible. And of course, let me thank the staff of Xianjiaotong University for fruitfully cooperating with all of us. So now the time is very limited, so I give the floor to Antonella Forlino, who is Pro-Rector for Internationalization of the University of Pavia. I recommend to respect the 6-minute speech, otherwise I will be forced to interrupt you since we have 13 speakers. So otherwise it will take, we will engage all the morning. So Professor Antonella Forlino, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see my video.
Yeah, everything is okay.
Perfect. So, first of all, thanks. It's a great pleasure to be here and to share some of the challenge that the University of Pavia has to face in post-pandemia era. Just a few words on Pavia University. It is a university really embedded into the city, and our city has 70,000 residents. Our students are a bit over 22,000, and we are very close to Milan. It is a medieval university town. It is offering many cultural and social activity, and we have really an exceptional high quality of life in Pavia. The university is not very big. It is a mid-size. We have 18 departments and 18 degree courses that are activated. Most of them are taught in English. We do have a language center and a sports center. And most importantly, we have 20 university colleges. So it is really a university where you live person to person. But then COVID-19 came and our academic life completely had to change. So when we left the pandemic of the last year and we faced the new academic year in September, we decided to start in a blended mode, since it was not possible due to the space constriction to be completely in person. So we started rotation method and small classes, and we left in person basically only the laboratory activity. Regarding international mobility, I'm a prorector for internationalization, so I really push to confirm all the incoming and outcoming mobility, and we succeed in that. Of course, for the EU country, because for the extra EU, we need to make decisions based on the roles of the different countries. We make sure to have a free fees and to have a scholarship for the low incoming student, especially in post-pandemia situation. But then the second wave happened and all the world was eaten. Italy was eaten, and Lombardy was the worst region eaten by the post-pandemia. So we had to change. We moved everything online, but we were able to keep in person the laboratory activity. Unfortunately, we have to suspend all the international mobility, but I really pushed for implementation of virtual mobility. And indeed, that's the main challenges that we are facing now, the teaching and mobility in a virtual mode. And I do believe that will not be only an emergency answer. I think that there is a lot of possibility, and we should take this pandemic situation as an occasion. So we activated several courses, and I'm really proud of that, because they were really appreciated both from teaching staff person as well as a student. We activated the Internationalization at Home program, the Erasmus Virtual Exchanges program, and we are actually member of European alliances. Very briefly, the Internationalization at Home is a short online contribution to university modules coming from teaching from our partner institution. I started this program just because of the pandemic, in order to keep international activities ongoing, to implement a visiting exchange program, and to work on possible double degree program. And we activate that by making a questionnaire to all our colleagues in order to find who was interested and to find partners that were interested. And indeed, it was really successful. We have over 20 partner institutions that were involved, 33 modules that were actually activated with contribution from abroad partner, and 14 out of 18 departments were involved. And the second program we activated was the Erasmus Virtual Exchange. This program was active from 2018, but it was really pushed during the pandemic. It is a cross-cultural educational program that allows students to speak face-to-face, but in a web conference platform. And this opportunity is great for the student because it provides free access to try international and virtual mobility. The students really appreciate that, and they ask us to even implement this kind of activity. Finally, we recently are members of the European alliances. These the alliances that Pavia is involved is the European Campus of City University. It includes 7 universities spread over Europe, and the University of Poitiers in France is the coordinator. What is important in this alliance is that we have a strict interaction with the cities, the municipalities, the technological center present in the 7 towns where the universities are embedded. And this alliance mainly focus on 3...
1 minute left.
Yeah, 3 SDGs, and we aim to generate a virtual institute where digital activity in terms of education, innovation, and research will be really implemented. So we do believe that the new digital education will provide innovative learning, international program, and inclusion. But we need to work, and this is important for the discussion, on the recognition, certification, and quality standard for our program. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Antonella. And now I leave the floor to Professor Rangyu Lee, who is Vice President for External Engagement of the University of Queensland. The floor is yours.
I'll be very of the 6 minutes I've got. I think that the topic is about how will the pandemic change or influence the future of universities. I think it has already changed and influenced the universities. But I would like to highlight the 5 areas on your screen that are notable changes already. I think we are seeing and will continue to see enhanced online teaching, learning, and assessment. And the second area is more investment in digital skills and capabilities. A third area would be more variable products and pricing options. The fourth area will be increased visibility and impact of science and research. And the fifth area, we will see a balance of investment in both physical and digital assets. If you take a look at the University of Queensland, the online offering from 2019 to 2020 changed significantly. In 2019, we had 18% of courses offered through online means. But if you look at actually 2020, 83% of all of our courses are online. Enrollment happened very much the same. In 2019, very small percentage of students choosing to do their studies online, but by semester 2, 2020, 82% of students are doing online studies. To do online well, there are some conditions to be met. First of all, we do need students to be more independent and capable learners. COVID forced everybody to go online, but I don't think from a learner and teacher's perspective, neither party was ready. So that's why, from the student perspective, I think we need to have more independent and capable learners to make online learning just as good as face-to-face, if not better. The other thing is, we can't just actually demand the students to be independent and more capable. We do need our teaching academics to be digitally literate. They have to know how to teach and engage students in a very interactive fashion, and the quality has to be matching a face-to-face delivery. The third condition is we do need to have reliable and accessible technology. Without the technology platform, nothing is going to happen. There's a big question, however, remain. That is, what about qualification recognition? At the moment, I think people are more agreeable to accepting online studies, but that is an interim and urgent measure. Many governments and industries still see online qualification as inferior to those obtained through the traditional face-to-face learning. The mode of delivery...
1 minute left, thank you.
The product is going to change. So I think based on different delivery mode, internal, flexible, and external, we'll have to come up with prices. I think going forward, one significant change will be the visibility and the importance of research and education. We've seen on television, news media 24/7, health advice, health education, vaccine research, more investment in research and commercialization, and enhanced visibility and trust in science. That's a good thing. I think that's a positive change. But more importantly, I think most of the capital works projects have been put on hold. So a balanced investment in physical and digital assets will be the key. I think many universities will be making similar adjustments. So all in all, as I mentioned very briefly, I think the 5 areas of change would be enhanced online teaching, learning and assessment, more investment in digital skills and capabilities, variable product and pricing options, increased visibility and impact of science, and balance of physical and digital assets. Thanks very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much indeed. Now we have Professor Liu Jianwu of Zhengzhou University. Please, the floor is yours. We are not able to hear you, please. Are you able? Well, maybe we wait.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry for the delay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So first, I will give a brief introduction of Zhengzhou University. So the history of the university starts from 1928. In the past 92 years, we have gone through 3 stages. So the early development is from 1928 to 1996. And the second is from 1996 to 2016. And from 2016, Zhengzhou University was selected into the 42 first-class university. So we have a new stage. So the goal of the development of the university is to become a comprehensive and research-oriented university. So we will take 3 steps to reach the goal. The first one is to 2020. The second one is to 2035. And the third one is to the middle of the 21st century. Now, Zhengzhou University boasts the large scale of students. Now we have 50,000 undergraduate students and 23,000 postgraduate students and 2,500 international students. Now we have more than 1 million alumni working around the world. So this is a UASR ranking of the 3 disciplines at the university. Now we have 262 partner universities from 51 countries. So the second one is the emergency governance during pandemic outbreak. So we follow the 2 principal lines. One is the pandemic control and prevention. The other one is teaching and research. And we have gone through 2 stages in pandemic promotion and control. The first stage is to prevent virus entering campus, and then we have detailed implementation to ensure safety campus at a new normal stage. So on 10th February, we start the new semester with the largest participant nationwide. Each day, we have 1,138 courses, online courses for undergraduate students, and 127 online courses for the postgraduate students. And this year, we have 2 graduation ceremonies on 28th June and 5th August. And for the opening ceremony 2020, we have online and campus ceremony. So because we have very large scale students and very large campus, so we take a unit specified management of both students and the campus. That's from grade to group, from building to the room. And during the pandemic, we enhance friendship with our partners universities, and we provide protective equipment to 7 partner universities. And for the how to build capacity in emergency governance, so we promote the information construction to ensure teaching quality and information sharing. And we collaborate with the local community closely to control the campus. So how the pandemic will influence the future development of the university? I think the first one, we should emphasize student-oriented education. As we know, life and health are the most important. We should give students an all-round development. And as Vice President Lee just mentioned, we should cultivate student independence. So the second one, we should promote flexibility in teaching method with high quality. Now we combine online, offline, and offline teaching, and to improve the capacity of online teaching, enrich online resources, develop online teaching platform, and optimize psychology consulting system for the students. And the third one is to modernize university governance. We should ensure the safety of students and faculty in the pandemic, and by a standardized governance system of high efficiency to improve the university governance. The last one, we should promote international exchange and cooperation. As we know, pandemic is a challenge faced by the whole humankind. So we should enhance international exchange and cooperation to fight the coronavirus and to contribute to a shared future. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Liu. Now we have Action Meshbai, Pro Vice Chancellor of Victoria University of Wellington. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, my warm greetings from the Southern Hemisphere and Victoria University of Wellington. I'm very grateful and feel excited and privileged to be a part of this gathering. The concept and the vision of the Universal Alliance of the Silk Road is very close to our heart and to my university's mission and ambitions for the future, particularly after the major impact that COVID has had on everything we do locally, nationally, and globally. We are asked to consider what is the role of university in the society. One view is that universities are embedded ecosystems of intellectually satisfied talents and cooperative stakeholders within society that innovate and co-create ambitious, sustainable solutions to heal, feed, fuel, and shape the world and its future in partnership with national and global universities, institutes, governments, and industries. More than 2,000 years ago, the Han Dynasty's strong vision to develop trade routes all the way from East Asia to Southern Europe, overcome difficulties as associated with cumbersome travel on horseback or camel, weather conditions, bandits and thieves, and many other challenges. That vision was remarkable, even by today's standards, and the barriers to delivering it were huge. Despite all that, the Silk Road had a major influence across the globe. It brought prosperity, cultural evolutions, creation of the civilization by the sharing of knowledge, culture, and skills for centuries across many empires, including Chinese, Persian, Greek, Roman, Byzantine, Indian, and many more. Our era of modern technologies, transport systems, superfast communication, and trade mechanisms have all turned the tyranny of distance to prosperity of proximity. It is a new version of the Silk Road, and we have no reason and no excuse to underestimate the opportunities this will bring to us. The world is changing. It's neither a surprise nor predictable. Societies and communities need to innovate their way out of challenges, learn from each other, and support each other through transitions. This is inevitable. Global challenges need global solutions. The experience of COVID-19 taught all of us that the world is in desperate need of a shared vision, shared knowledge, shared experience, and shared resources. This will not only enable us to weather pandemics and disasters, but also allow us to shape the future world that we wish to live in. Solutions in isolation will not last long and will have a short lifespan. It's only through genuine global partnership that we can achieve global prosperity, a better world to live in, and a sustainable world for future generations. It is time now to take advantage of our increasingly interconnected world to build global resilience and agility. Universities have always played a major role in societal and global transitions. A few were led by them, some were heavily influenced by them, and many were supported by them. In the last few decades, when countries, regions, and continents went through various turmoils, education proved to be the best way out. This pandemic has exposed the many inadequacies and inequities in our health, education, and financial systems. The main challenge could be simplified in one word: accessibility. The lockdowns have interrupted our conventional educational and research practices. Learning continuity is under constant threat, and the academic experience will have to be redefined. To make this crisis more complicated for universities, in line with other industries, universities' financial sustainability has been under major threat in various ways. Through a serious reduction in students' mobility, a significant increase in student attrition, and having a lower rank in government's list of priorities, the health sector and the economy dominate politicians' minds, and this is for obvious reasons. This lack of mobility, shrinking finances, and inflexible academic practices threaten universities' existence, relevance, and function. Similar to many other industries, we are at crossroads. Our main mission to create and transfer knowledge demands a new paradigm. Use of state-of-the-art technologies and cybernetics, online learning, and remote teaching platforms has been our immediate and tactical response to this existential threat. However, we need to think collectively and strategically to co-create a new paradigm, a more sustainable framework to shape our education and research with agility and resilience. This will require partnerships, collaborations, and engagement at global level. In the absence of financial support, we need to make better use of our resources. In the absence of mobility, we need to transfer knowledge in a more creative way. In the absence of proximity to research facilities, we need to work out in innovative ways to share access. And in the presence of political and geopolitical challenges, we need to stand out, bring down barriers, and innovate ourselves and our society out of this crisis and future crises to come. At this moment, universities are at the crossroad. There are many possible roads we could take, but the vision and the values exemplified by the Silk Road offer the best way forward. And Victoria University of Wellington is ready to start this journey, traveling alongside our global partners. Thank you very much, and I wish all the participants a fruitful and brilliant conference in Italy.
Thank you very much indeed for your brilliant speech. And now we have Professor Akimbek Abdikalikov, Rector of Kyrgyz State University of Construction, Transportation, and Architecture, named after Izanov. Is there the rector? Well, I'm not able to check whether the rector is present. Maybe we will have a chance to listen to his speech later on. So now I ask Olga Yaroshenko, Vice Rector for International Relations of South Ural State University. Olga, the floor is yours, please.
Thanks a lot. So, dear members, colleagues, and friends, it's a great honor to be present at Forum 2020, and it's a great pleasure to see you all here, safe and sound. Kind regards from Russia, from cold Russia. We have winter already here. So the meeting mainly covers two main parts. It's our university's mission and roles in security for society, and how will the pandemic situation change or influence the future of the universities. So I can formulate it the following way. So South Ural State University, National Research University, before pandemic and after, because we know that so it can greatly change not only the model of the university, but also the financial model. So the dynamic development of universities in tough competitive environment and the need to adapt to pandemic changes create special requirements for the universities, for all universities, but mainly for the financial model of the universities. So our university is situated in the border between Europe and Russia. So we have to cherish so European and Asian traditions, and so take into account all the difficulties that can arise between the partners and the students. So the university financial model was changed and reviewed to a wide range of strategic tasks due to pandemic change and the need for a very quick response to time and environmental changes. Doesn't matter we have pandemic or not, but the university has to implement the following tasks. It was double difficult, but still, so the university focused on this to create a universal structure and respond to any pandemic demands for the education and labor market. So the second, to become a major economic unit and become a powerful scientific center and the driver on new ideas and so technologies. But this time we turn more and more to online technologies. To meet the time requirements, the university opened some branches in different regions of Russia that has also brought some income. University was created a research and production center institutional equipment and technology. So in order to meet the university needs in educational equipment and teaching materials. So today the university works, but it works online. It is still a leader in the development, production, and supply of high-tech educational equipment for universities, colleges, technical schools of Russia and abroad. And now it is difficult to work abroad, but we still work abroad. And the total share of the university on the national market is up to 75% to the university. As you know, Russia is a North country, so we faced a task of saving energy resources. So the university also accomplished this task by commissioning of research and production departments. So we also start working online. With the support of the federal grants, the university developed and improved this area, and so recognized as the best in the field of logistic support of educational institution. Nowadays, our strategy in science and innovations focuses on three long-term goals: achievement of a world-class breakthrough in research priority areas. So we still work with our partner universities, but now we have to work online with them. So promotion of sustainable development of the Ural region and development of entrepreneurship in high technological areas. So in our university, because we are a national research university, there are 12 international laboratories headed by top professors in different fields. So we still work in these laboratories, but now we have to work online. And I think that causes some difficulties, but we managed to overcome some of them. The financial sustainability is influenced.
1 minute left, Olga. Thank you.
Now by various risks, and the possibility of risk situation is typical for all the universities, for all the stages in the budget process. But I think, nevertheless, so the university focus on students, as students are our main goal, and so we have to do all the best to help students to have the professional knowledge online. And the university managed to build a new university, so with all the facilities. So we are pretty happy that our students has a great access to all online courses and to all new teaching materials. And so just we're happy that we have a great campus. So that's probably all. So kind regards from Russia. Please stay safe and sound. And I'm really looking forward to a very fruitful meeting and a very fruitful forum for today.
Thank you very much for your speech and for your warm conclusion. Thank you very much indeed, Olga. It's a pleasure, and I appreciate the Ural region. I've been very often there. Thank you so much. So now we have Professor Genshen Li, Vice President of China University of Petroleum, Beijing. The floor is yours, Professor Genshen Li.
Yes. Distinguished Professor Ferruccio Resta, distinguished Professor Wang Shuguo, dear Mr. Chairman, colleagues, good afternoon and good morning. It's my pleasure to have this opportunity to give a speech and exchange ideas with other colleagues on this forum. On behalf of China University of Petroleum, Beijing, I would like to extend our gratitude to the organizers Politecnico University of Milan and Xi'an University for inviting us to this forum. We wish this forum a great success. With the COVID-19 raging around the world economy and the energy industry have been deeply impacted. It has dramatically reshaped the global energy supply and the demand structure, and also brought great influence to the higher education in energy. As one of the influential universities in the area of energy, China University of Petroleum has been reflecting on the issues of how to stay committed to promoting energy education and research, and leading scientific and technological development in the coming post-pandemic era. Today, I'm very glad to share with you our strategies in dealing with this issue. Firstly, we will keep improving our strengths in petroleum and petrochemical disciplines to better play the leading role in this field. Despite the impact of epidemic, the basic demand for oil and gas will remain unchanged. In fact, a bit increasing in past months. Therefore, our goal of building our petroleum and the petrochemical disciplines into world-class level will not be changed. And we will continue our effort in becoming the innovator and the leader of the key technologies for China's oil and gas industry. Meanwhile, we believe that these disciplines should keep pace with the times and move forward to emerging areas such as deep water reservoir, unconventional reservoir, tight reservoir, fuel oil and gas, and coal to liquids. Secondly, we will focus on the innovation while aiming at the frontier to lead scientific and technological progress in the field. The fourth industrial revolution is unfolding rapidly.
Unfortunately, we lost for a while. Please, Professor Lee, please.
Yes. Okay. Can you hear me?
Now perfectly, thank you. Perfectly.
Yes, thank you. We'll continue. We have established the College of Artificial Intelligence 2 years ago, which is oriented to focus on key technologies in energy and artificial intelligence, and cultivating talents with excellence in both digital technologies and oil and gas production. Our effort in this will surely make contribution to the digitalization and the oil and gas industry. Thirdly, we will speed up the development in new and renewable energy disciplines to provide support to energy structure transformation. As the concept of environmental protection and the sustainable development are gaining popularity, more and more countries are making great efforts to replace fossil energy with clean and renewable energy, while maintaining the advantages of traditional disciplines. Our university has been actively expanded expanding the emerging interdisciplines in view of the new characters of low carbon, green, and intelligent of the energy industry. We have been speeding up the development in renewable energy, such as bioenergy, fuel cell, graphene, and geothermal energy. Dear colleagues, in the area of Internet of Everything, no more can stay on the sidelines. We are physically distanced from each other by the epidemic, but our communication will never stop. In the post-pandemic era, we will need deeper international exchanges and cooperation more than ever. Opportunities and challenges will coexist in the post-pandemic era. Let's work together, hand in hand, to overcome the challenges and seize the opportunities in building a bright future for global energy higher education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your brilliant speech, Professor Li, and all friends coming from China University of Petroleum. Thank you very much indeed. Now we have Professor Ben Young, who is Vice President for Student and International Affairs of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. The floor is yours, Professor Young.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, okay. I'm honored to be invited to this President Forum and share how the COVID pandemic has impacted PolyU and our thoughts on the changes. Many of you may see the pandemic as the comprehensive start of digital education. In fact, this pandemic may likely drive one of the biggest resets on higher education since World War II. It also reminds us to revisit the core values of higher education and explore the new norms of future universities. PolyU has actively combating COVID, and our actions includes research, communities, and online learning. As for research in the area of advanced diagnosis of the coronavirus, produced new 3D printed face shield and other areas. Communities. Our alumni and students went to Wuhan as frontline supporting staff and donate masks to needed communities. We also changed to online teaching and learning mode. COVID heavily disrupted higher education on 6 areas, especially teaching and learning. When digital education becomes the new norm, will it replace the traditional classroom brick-mortar educations after this pandemic? Brick-mortars is the symbols of higher education, the gate of knowledge, guiding the precious knowledge students and academics. When COVID disrupts the campus linkage, university has far less students on campus than normal. It resets the brick-mortar models, triggering us to reflect on its values. Few years before pandemic, PolyU has already actually saw the limitations of brick-mortar and the emerging peer learning patterns. In our strategic plan 2019 to 2024, we launched several initiatives to break the constraints of brick-mortar. We added digital educations, transformed physical and virtual learning. Most importantly, we built infrastructures, e-learning to embrace digitalized knowledge. Thanks to our digital investment, we have quickly transited from classroom education to online education during pandemic. However, we faced unanticipated challenges on enrollment, international mobility, and student support, which involving campus considerations. International students' activity is one of the major affected areas. According to the Organizations for Economic Cooperation, international students' mobility suffers severely, especially international students' recruitment. Our schemes for students' global exposure are affected. Student service under the new norms. We also provide, during the COVID-related time, we provide COVID-related supporting scheme. With strong support from the senior management, staff members, alumni, and donors, we provide financial assistance to PolyU students who are affected by COVID. Over 700 students receive financial subsidies. We launched new online chat video counseling and career service, providing supports to our students. COVID has greatly impacted on higher education and leads to a few key questions. Why does brick mortar or campus matter for universities? On which aspects the brick mortar shapes the nature of higher education institutes? To what extent could online activities may replace campus functions in the future? Above all, relating to the new norm of higher education and need to be strategically discussed before we fully reopen campus. These areas are disrupted during pandemics. Qualities, equities, and well-being. I really don't have time to elaborate each of these points due to 6 minutes presentation. I will share this PowerPoint and then you will get a copy. Perhaps we should seek out answers from where we started. Higher education saw its transformations from World War II, evolving with the human capital needs for industrial, post-industrial, and informations. Martin Claude had categorized higher educations as elite, mass, and universal educations. PolyU is gifted by its 80+ years history and witnessed the road change of universities and been benefit from this transformation journey. Nowadays, our academic activities covers 3 education aspects. Among them, mind shaping and skill preparations involving campus factors. Within brick mortar, we organize students' programs, enrich campus life and global exposure. Students learn to appreciate diversities. They learn to serve and serve to learn in the secured environment. We see the benefits of online learning. We integrate various online platforms and support our students to access them anytime, anywhere. At the same time, we place high emphasis on campus life, opportunities, and new collaborations. We see new collaborations and new benefits arising from online communications, such as now. I'm seeing all of you from all over the world, and I'm actually in my office. For example, this year, we collaborated with Xi'an Jiaotong Universities for 3 years professional training programs on power management. For the first 2 cohorts, only 20 participants per cohort could be invited for the workshops and also for the on-field study. This year, we changed to online mode, and we had 150 participants from 26 countries joining the workshop. There will be new norms for higher education. We need to revisit the values of brick mortar or the world. It is a place for well-being to promote whole person educations and uphold moral values. It is a place for equity to support the needy students and offer institutional protection for students and scholars. It is a place for research through laboratories and provide skill-related practices. In terms of partnerships, we must give credits to the Near Horizon opened by the online mode. It promotes universal knowledge, sharing, and supports our partners in need. Allow me to use this famous picture to illustrate equality, equity to wrap up these presentations. Digital world helps us to transform the solid fence into the meshed fence, allowing us to navigate the world at ease, anytime, anywhere. When there's a new norm for higher education, all changes follow. Let us work together in real and virtual world, and also the global horizon. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed for your brilliant speech. Now we have Professor Hua Wang, Associate Dean of M. Leon Business School and Dean of M. Leon Business School Asia. Professor Hua Wang, the floor is yours. Professor Hua?
No? Can you hear?
Okay. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay.
We are not able to hear you. You have some problems to the microphone.
Hello? I have, hello? Can you hear? Hello?
You are very far.
Hello?
Yeah, your volume is very low. Please unplug your microphone and plug it in again. Should work.
How about now? Hello?
It's a little better. Can you get the microphone closer to you? Oh, yes. Now it's much better.
Now it's much better?
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so just to go straight forward to the point, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so my pleasure to present. I would like to share the case of our school with you. So first of all, it is about a very quick presentation about what is EM Lyon Business School. It is founded in 1872. So in about 2 years, we're going to celebrate 150 years anniversary. So we are now expanding from a French-centric business school towards by reaching the continent in Africa and also in Asia. So we have the footprint in Casablanca, Bhubaneswar in India, and Shanghai. We have also is a top 3 business school in France with a triple accreditation, AACSB, EQUIS, and AMBA. This is not the core. Well, this is also a ground about the different context as the school is expanding from France to some other continents. Naturally, our problematic is not exactly the same as universities or institutions staying in the same place. So very quickly, I want to share our experience from 2 aspects on what we have done during this pandemic period. First is in terms of the organization. So we have created what we call the crisis management committee that is composed by multifunction and multi-campus team members. So it is served as a kind of the task force to be agile to reply all the emerging situations. And at the same time, this is also a community that share the best practices from different functions and from different campuses. As what you see that the pandemic, started from China and then, progressively expanded to different continents. So the time space is not the same, and you see that also China is now in a safer situation. So that is why we can share the experience from different zones. In terms of the online teaching, first of all, in fact, we are using the Zoom as a kind of a platform. And luckily enough, the Zoom platform has been introduced 1 year before the pandemic. So the school is familiar with about this function. And for sure, also the digitalized learning platform has been established for 2-3 years before the pandemic. So those are the things we are getting used to. And for the hardware part, you see that professors are locked into their rooms, home. So school are purchasing hardwares so as to facilitate and improve the environment. In terms of the teaching, I just also want to share that we are sharing the best practices among the professors. And the advantage of the globalization is that in the campus now in Shanghai, we're using the mixed learning and even fully offline learning. We are organizing online study trip for those students who should come to China. And interestingly enough, we are even managed to create bigger impact in terms of the knowledge diffusion as professors and the business partners people come from the industry. They are jointly organizing conferences, talks, seminars, and then in such a way we can reach a bigger audience. And here you see that I'm also teaching as the professor. This is a real case to illustrate to you in one classroom how I was organizing both online and offline class with multiple large screens that I can see over 60 students coming from different regions together, and organize online-based group discussion, interaction, etc. Looking for the future, the school has formulated a 4-pillar strategy. And interestingly enough, there is the hand-in-hand between globalization strategy and the digitalization strategy. You see that there is certainly a synergy between these two. And the two other points are linking with the hybridation and the CSR, as we can see that the word, as a business school, we are forming responsible managers in the future. I see that I'm already having reached the quota of 6 minutes. So I would like to stop here, and we can have more Q&A part if there is this session. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Wang, for your brilliant speech. Now I deliver the floor to Professor Nikolai Rogalev, Rector of the National Research University Moscow Power Engineering Institute. Professor Rogalev, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Dear Chairman, dear colleagues, let me say about using distance technology in the university active management. On the 16th of March of this year, the education process in Russia was converted to the remote form. Each university was faced with the task of converting its activity to a new format. Moscow Power Engineering Institute is one of the largest technical universities in Russia in the area of power engineering, electrical engineering, electronic and computer science. And our university also has 3 affiliated branches in Russia, as well as 2 branches abroad in Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. You can see here some number of our university. The number of students and faculty and areas of study determined its digital transformation to a great extent. The transformation had to be carried out in fast forward in view of the pandemic. The educational process was converted to the remote format as soon as possible. There has been developed and implemented a whole list of measures for disinfection of premises and social adaptation of employees and students to new content. We try to ensure that most of the students from our dormitories return to their hometown. However, not everyone could do that, especially foreign students, and we have students from 68 countries across the world. COVID-19 cases were detected in all our buildings of our dormitories in Moscow. Many issues had to be resolved to those dormitories that we were quarantined by order of government agencies, from the arrangement of food and all necessary for life, till the operation of buildings and premises. Since many campus employees, we were also quarantined. A platform to organize the education process was chosen. Remote education was arranged through the platform. The developments existing in online education that were previously successfully implemented in the frame of the Institute of Remote and Additional Education of our university was scaled to all institutes and departments. The regulatory framework was significantly revised to organize the final certification. we use the Mind Russian platform. We started the new academic year in a combined format. All our spring development assisted us. Lectures were held in a remote format, at laboratory practical and usual practical were internal. Some foreign students and students from other cities started their studies completely remotely on the 1st of September. Study process of our university has been transferred to the total distance form since the 13th of November. But the university extends, the university existence is not confined to the educational process. Now a huge number of conference, forums, and meetings are held on the line. It stands to reason that the success of any university mainly depends on presentation of its research results, which is particularly true in our new reality after the pandemic began. We have done a common work and how we have a digital catalog for our development. The target model of our university and the overall development program until 2024 is the University 3.0 model, education, science, and innovation. The pandemic not only forces us to go through stress and stability trial under new conditions, but a window of opportunity for our university was open as well. Certainly, that require management structure reorganization for dynamic transformation into a digital university. Opportunities have opened up for development of teaching methods, approaches to the student engagement, and introducing innovation. We are actively in progress, and we kindly hope to realize our target despite formidable difficulties. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Professor Rogalev, for qualifying your institute have very sadly and very introduced a very significant change. So thank you very much indeed. Now we have Professor Chunhua Yan, President of Lanzhou University. Professor Yan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And dear colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to be here and exchange some ideas about the post-pandemic period for our university and for education. And when we talk about the pandemic, and I think it's a serious and also affects all of the world. And before my presentation, I would like to give you some brief introduction about my university. And in this slide, the left side, and we have a lines, and in your left hand, the only one university standing there almost occupied the more than half territories of mainland of China. So that's the label, the number is the different universities supported by the central government and also marked as the keynote, a key university or kernel university in China. So you can very clearly to find only one university stand in Gansu province near the line is ours. So you can find most of the university and colleges, they located in the east part, and especially located in the coach area. So as the Lanzhou University, we founded in 1909. That's 110 years ago. So we have the two campus and the full-time students around them 35K, including the under and graduate students. And we have faculty number is around 2,400. It's not including the clinic professors working in our medicine school and also the hospitals. So as the university, when we say it's the real comprehensive university for ours, because we covered almost all of the disciplines from covered the nature science, engineering, literatures, social science, as well as the art and others. So the most solid disciplines is nature science, as well as the Earth-related science and technologies. We say the geographic and the geology. And also during the past 20 years, we also developed the ecology science and technology in our university. So the ecology and the related disciplines occupy the top 3 in China. And also, when we face the common pandemic, my colleague, they provide prediction systems. It's covered all of the countries and give us the very exact prediction about the case of affected. So by or with this prediction systems, we can clearly to change or modify or improve our actions, not only for education, but also for the industry and the social lives. It has some open and national, internationalized, we say the globalized university that have some certain features. For the university, they should have the standing or freestanding. I think that's a unique in the worldwide. You know, for our faculty in their education and their training is overseas and it's a globalized. And for our students, not only study on campus, but also by the exchange programs to overseas, even to the States or to European countries. So after the pandemic, everything is changed. For the teaching, we move from the offsite, from the classroom to the internet. And also, we have some ideas or some data from the virtual teaching and meetings as a second norm, because we cannot closely attach. And also, the professors, the students, they are not came together to the one classrooms. So from this data, we can say from the initiate period, and most of the university, they are closed for the offsite teaching. And after then, different area and different universities with the situation of the pandemics, and we securely or step by step to open the class from the offline or from the online to offlines, or combination of the offlines and online together. So this map or this figures we can indicate now some of the university is fully open, especially for the China, and also for the European countries and the States. Some of them is opened partially, and most of them is is the teaching with the online systems. So it's the change, and also the challenge to all of us. We should to change our technicals. We should to change our communication styles, and we should to change the teaching and learning and practice patterns. So here, and I also will say that the leading rules for the more open and the leading university, such as we want to for Lanzhou University. And during the pandemic era or after the pandemic era, we think that the first one is we can do as the think tank. to provide ideas or new suggestions to the public committee and even to the government. And also the second thing is by the voucher and the real experiments, we should to provide to providing and the construction the new platform for training and incubation the scale of students. And also the collective innovative force is also the root of the university for innovation and to contribution to the publics. And also how to make the university as we wanted it, and we want to use the money. This is also the challenge for university. So available funding is the challenge, and how to make them and is to be discussing for our careers. And after the pandemic era or post the pandemic, and the close relationships and collaboration with the industry and companies for high tech, even not so high tech, is also necessary. So by these routes, and we can find our change and also to influence our education styles. So for Lanzhou University, we want to become the world-class university. However, especially for Lanzhou University, we want to root in China. This is not simply labeled as the Chinese signals, but also it's especially for related with our natural resources, geology, as well as the desert, mountain, and the Gobi areas. So such diverse geology give us the open class and give us incubation laboratory to training our students. So that's give also open a new windows to becoming or step by step to becoming a world-class university. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your speech. Now we have Professor Mukambek Tali Burkitbayev, first Vice Rector of Al-Farabi Kazakh National University. So, Professor Burkitbayev, the floor is yours. Professor, can you switch on your microphone, please?
Oh, it's okay now?
Now we are able to hear you, Professor. So we now see only the last slide of yours. So
I see. I will just, it is a mistake. Okay.
Okay, that's wonderful. The floor is yours, please.
Yes, thank you. Dear distinguished participants of that forum, it is a great pleasure for me to be here today among our partners from the University Alliance of Silk Road and to share our experience in dealing with common challenging issues of modernity. We are physically isolated, but connecting with each other digitally linked. Today, COVID-19 pandemic is one of the global agenda, and it is not only a global health crisis, but also a matter that is affecting every aspect of our lives: economy, education system. Education system in all this country has quickly adopted to the new conditions of pandemic era. As the case of Al-Farabi University, we have created a safe learning environment for our students and the staff, and we were one of the first in Kazakhstan to switch to distance learning and the remote coordinating format. All business processes of our university were quickly moved to online format. It is facilitated by the fact that the university already had national platforms for distance learning as Univer or Moodle, and had an extensive experience in organizing online seminars and the workshops with the universities around the world. During the peak of pandemic, our university worked on solving not only its own problems, but also made all possible efforts to be useful in overcoming the problems of the pandemic in the region, in supporting and keeping the social responsibility. Our students, our researchers start to produce many different types of disinfectants and the protective masks. Our students, as a volunteer, were working at the hospitals and the community care. And as a member of the University of the Social Responsibility Network, it was important for us to conduct a variety of events and webinars on relevant topics with the local community, with the participation of professionals, international experts from World Health Organization, UNESCO, economists, lawyers, and etc. Today, we are developing at the innovative platform Al-Farabi University Smart City, based on great thinker Al-Farabi's teaching on the ideal city, aims to create modern university in which technology and the morality can grow and develop together in harmony. In 21st century, the university campus environment is determined not only by its infrastructure, financial and material resources. Modern universities should have a high level of spiritual and moral development. Also, Al-Farabi has developed and implemented a model of higher educational institution for new generation, University 4, aimed at the formation of responsible global citizens. This model has been launched jointly with the United Nations Alliance of Civilization at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and has been presented at many international conferences. This is especially important with the advent of new technologies capable of working not only for development, but also for destruction. A new type of university should not only produce high-quality specialists, but also develop global citizens with high moral, ethnic, and civic value. Al-Farabi said that education without spiritual value could be harmful. Very important issue is deal with the post-coronavirus period. And for that time, we think it's very important to prepare students for the realities of the market, equip them with knowledge to create job on their own, and knowledge, which is socially important task for us as well. To encourage the involvement of well-known representatives of business and the production in the educational process. And absolutely agree with talking about that the strengthening of international cooperation is absolutely necessary now. As I told, we just physically isolated, but we have able to discuss all the problems using modern IT technologies. And at the post-COVID time, it's very important to focus university activities to the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. Al-Farabi University, as global hub of United Nations Academic Impact Program on Sustainability, would like to suggest to focus on implementation of SDG goals. I would like to note that this year marks the 10th anniversary of the adoption of UN program Academic Impact, which called on the academic community to unite intellectual potential to meet the objectives of CDG. And the next 10 years were declared the decade of sustainable development. In the case of Al-Farabi University, we are implementing SDGs through education, research, and development partnership for goals, and try to demonstrate all approaches at the university campus formation and the campus and the university management. We have designed numerous projects and the programs for implementing sustainable development goals at the university, national and the global level. And in conclusion, I would like to quote a passage of Al-Farabi. A person can achieve the perfection to which he is intended by nature only through the association of many people who can help each other. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Burkitbayev. And thank you also for this piece of wisdom coming from Al-Farabi. So thank you very much indeed for your very relevant message. Now we have Professor Edward Rockert, President of Universidad Peruana de Ciencias Aplicadas. Professor Rockert, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be joining you from Lima, Peru in South America. It is very early in the morning, but I'm really very happy.
Thank you very much for standing up so early in the morning. Thank you.
But it is a real pleasure to join you in such an important event, and I'm really glad to see many of you doing well, and I'm really happy to be able to share our own experience here in South America. UPC or UPC is a private research comprehensive university in Lima, Peru. We are regionally accredited in the United States, and we are one of the top ranked universities in research and internationalization in our country. The COVID pandemic has really changed and influenced our university, as I'm sure it has your own institutions. I have a very short presentation. It's basically only one slide. And what I intend to do here is to try to frame what and how this pandemic will change the way we interact and we deliver our programs and education to our students. The pandemic, and there is no doubt about this, has accelerated our digital transformation and has dramatically changed our universities and the way we interact and do things. We truly believe we must find ways of benefiting from the very best that face-to-face education has always provided us, but we have to learn how to combine it with the benefits of distance learning that we have accelerated and started delivering through the pandemic. After a lot of thought and strategic work at the university, we have determined that in order to make this change a true and sustainable transformation, we must, first of all, manage it strategically. We have to move from tactic to strategy. And in order to do so, we must collaborate and share best practices by participating in events such as this one and by collaborating with the institutions we already share partnerships around the world. We must develop a 360-degree step-by-step plan, and we must focus on the experience and interaction with all the key stakeholders we serve. Our faculty, with our students, with our alumni, with the community, with the industry. We have to learn how, under a new scenario, we can start interacting and delivering our programs with the same quality, and ideally better quality than before. We must guarantee that we may be able to foster an adequate organizational culture and embrace change. This transformation is done through our own people, through our faculty, through our students, through our staff. If they don't buy into the transformation, we will probably go back to what we were accustomed to doing before the pandemic. But I'm pretty sure that we have to show our resiliency and our capacity and creativity in order to make this transformation sustainable. The transformation must provide access and inclusion. It must help to close the gaps that we find typically in many of our developing countries. Peru is not a country that escapes from this reality, and therefore we must find ways in which this technology can help us and assist us to provide better access to better quality education for everyone. The technology will also provide flexible learning opportunities if we know how to tap into what the students are looking for. We are basically dealing with a very different generation of students, and these students must be able to decide how they want to learn. It is up to us to determine whether what we offer ends up being precisely what they're looking for. And finally, we must take advantage of our stakeholders' digital footprint. And this digital footprint provides us with huge amounts of information that if we know how to use it through artificial intelligence, through machine learning, we will be able to design and develop the best quality education semester after semester to truly become a world-class institution and continue to share everything we learn and basically everything we learn through ourselves and through our partners in order to basically deliver, like I mentioned, the kind of education our country needs in order to sustainably develop itself and provide prosperity and well-being for everyone. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to share our thoughts about this, and thank you for the invitation. It has been a true pleasure. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Professor Rockert, for your brilliant speech, and thank you again for standing up so early in the morning in Lima. We understand we live in a global world, and so nowadays it's a mess to find the right combination of time. So thank you so much. So thank you above all to everybody, because you raised very important points, and let me try to sum up this first first session of today's conference. Let me say that all our universities belonging to our alliance showed an incredible flexibility. No matter the specific university, we have listened that there was a very fast reaction, allowing to shift from a prevalent offline approach to an online and a hybrid perspective of learning. So let me say that this further enlightens the importance of such a network in the UASR network. Well, of course, the challenge is the future, as it has been emerged from several speeches. The pandemic, if possible, have further accelerated significant change.
Я говорю, с одного на другое тут прыгаю.
Sorry, there is a voice behind. So, well, the pandemic has further accelerated the change that we were experiencing. It has accelerated, above all and among the others, the issue of digital transformation and the issue of safety and being environmentally aware. So all in all, as Professor Rockert has pointed out in his speech, universities, but not only universities, have to deal from a strategic perspective in order to imagine the post-pandemic future. We have to think as universities from a strategic viewpoint, since our role is further leveraged in the post-pandemic society. The most important challenge will be related to human capital, to a process of upskilling of people. So universities will play an even more important role than in the past. Second, universities have to adopt a strategic perspective for imagining a post-pandemic future, since the digital lever that we have experienced in the last 6 months will have a pervasive and systemic impact on our operations. So what will be the future of our universities in the light of the properties of digital technologies? We have to imagine probably an hybrid future where of course the person-to-person, the physical interaction, as mentioned by Professor Resta, will still be the core of our identity. But we cannot neglect that the digital environment opened up some opportunities of change, and so in the light of the central importance of the physical interaction, we have to discover how to mix digital lever into a person-to-person format. Let me conclude pointing out that also the quality of life, the quality of working, let me refer to smart working, for instance, will be significantly impacted by the experience we had over the last few months. In this respect, universities, together with governments, have to imagine the smart city, the quality of life of the future, how territories, societies, cities should be thought according to what we experienced over the last few months. So thinking in terms of smart cities of the future, thinking in terms of sustainable cities throughout the exploitation of digital technologies will be a challenge whereby universities, together with government, will play, I hope, a key role. So, we created the University Alliance of the Silk Road. Xianjiao University started this strategic project some years ago. Now, more than in the past, we bear the responsibility of imagining a more prosperous future, So I really hope that the University Alliance of the Silk Road will have to take a leadership role across the Eurasian countries in order to think from a strategic viewpoint what could be the future of our societies and territories. And I do believe that by sharing our experiences, by exploiting cultural diversities, we can identify different but attractive archetypes of societies and territories. So, thank you very much indeed, dear speakers, for your very brilliant messages, insights, and stimuli that I'm pretty sure that the Standing Committee of this alliance will take into account in order to address the future activities of our alliance. So, this session ends now, and let me, since it's about 2 hours that we are seated, maybe I think that a 5 minutes break, the opportunity of taking a cup of coffee, a cup of milk, a cup of tea, or Professor Rocket to sleep will be appreciated. So now it's 11. We are sparking 5 minutes. We will start. Thank you again. The next session will be chaired by Professor Monica Riva, will be related to security for society. So I thank you all, guys, and then I will leave the floor to Professor Riva, who is Rector's Delegate for International Networks at Politecnico di Milano. Spasiba, thank you, merci, see you all.
Okay, so welcome to all of you who were able to join us even in this complex time we are living. The current pandemic highlights critical weakness of our society, whose well-being is strongly linked to security. Our daily life depends on a broad variety of services dealing with health, food, water, energy, transport, and economy. And the key question is how can society improve its resilience and be prepared to attack and challenges of natural and anthropogenic origin? Well, within this broad context, we were envisioned a series of webinars that will be performed under the umbrella of the University Alliance of the Silk Road. These webinars will be tackle diverse aspects of security for society, including security for public health and natural system, security for infrastructure and structures, as well as cyber security. We will have a little taste of this diverse aspect, all of them linked to security, starting from this week, while dedicated thematic webinars will be organized, relying on the excellent contribution of the network members during the upcoming month. So I am welcoming our distinguished international guests, who are going to show very interesting points that are for sure going to spur an exciting debate. Due to the variety of topics covered, we will have a discussion after each talk for about, let's say, 5 minutes. Then we will have time for a final discussion as a closure to all talks. So we start now, and the first invited speaker of today is Neno Kukurik. Dr. Neno is a groundwater specialist with over 30 years of experience worldwide as a field hydrogeologist, consultant, scientific researcher, and manager. His professional interests cover international water cooperation and multidisciplinary approaches to water-related issues. Dr. Neno Kukurik is the director of the UNESCO International Groundwater Resources Assessment Center, and during the last 15 years, he has particularly been involved in assessment and management of transboundary groundwater worldwide. His talk is also setting the stage for the upcoming World Water Day in 2022, where the main theme is groundwater, making the invisible visible. So, Neno, now the floor is all for you.
Very good day to everyone. Then I will share with you, just as an intermezzo, I understood that we have a very heavy program, introduction to shared groundwaters. And this is, I think I will start the first one. It will be much better, yes. And I will dedicate this short talk to groundwaters across the borders. Short story on international shared aquifers. Aquifers, for those who are not familiar, are actually a geological environment which stores water, and the water which is stored in the environment. So we will talk about aquifers today. I will start just with a brief introduction of a center I'm working for. It's a UNESCO center. It's very much related to a World Meteorological Organization as well. And it exists already for more than 15 years. And our prime task is international sharing of information and knowledge which is relevant to groundwater. And we are very much focused as a UN center to transboundary groundwaters. So groundwater is something I deal with for many years and every day for many hours, but most of you not. And it's maybe good to know that almost half of the population worldwide drink groundwater every day, and that about 40% of water which is used for irrigation comes from groundwater, 30% for industry. It's very important for ecosystems. Without groundwater, it will be no rivers. It prevents land subsidence and seawater intrusion. It is very important for climate change adaptation, and it's often a solution for people without safe access to groundwater. Still, despite these impressive facts and figures, invisible groundwater is out of sight and out of mind for most people. We see that water scarcity is increasing, and that surface water availability is also decreasing. So there is more pressure and reliance on groundwater. But we still don't know enough about groundwater, and certainly not about transboundary groundwaters. Most of the countries share aquifers. There are about 360 larger aquifers identified all over the world. And changes in groundwater quality and quantity can lead to international problems, but also sharing a resource can be a platform for cooperation. And I must say, I've seen this letter much more often than the former so far, luckily. There are many differences among countries, languages, reference systems, legal policies, institutional structures, and we need cooperation to mitigate or eliminate problems and increase overall benefit from groundwater. Here you will see a lot of logos, and those are logos of organizations or international programs which deal nowadays with transboundary aquifers. And this is a simple example. If you have a border, then you think that water is just on subsurface, nearby the surface, but actually it can be very deep and go from one country to the other. This is an example from my tribal region, and I like it because you hear a large spring, and it's really large. It can have 140 cubic meters per second in maximum. And this is the border, and this is the aquifer. So certainly they need cooperation to manage and protect this water. I say here aquifers before borders because, you know, when we think about nature, aquifers were there before borders. Well, I don't say that aquifers are more important than borders, but they are certainly very important. People cooperate about surface water already for 100 years, actually 1,000 years. But groundwater, the first inventory of transboundary aquifers was made just 20 years ago in Europe by UNEC, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. And we just made this, whether countries, this circle, if countries think there is shared groundwater, they color the circle. If not, they didn't. Well, then we started further, and this is a snapshot from Southeast Asia, where our colleagues from UNESCO in office in China, together with a regional cooperation, they made the first inventory of transboundary aquifers in this region. This is an example from Central Asia, first assessment of UNECE, and you see still circles. Later on, there was second assessment, much more intensive. On the example of Africa, I would like to see where we started from circles and ovals, and gradually we delineated all major aquifers in the world. So a couple of years ago, we came up with a map, transboundary aquifers of the world, at least delineated aquifers and some description. It was very important to have international cooperation here, and there was so-called transboundary water assessment program, not only groundwater, but all shared waters in the world, financed by Global Environment Facility, with a multidisciplinary methodology. That means it's not only environment, it's socio-economical, legal, institutional, political aspect, everything. What is very important is participatory approach. We had more than 300 experts from 130 countries working here. And eventually, a first structured and publicly accessible information system on transboundary aquifers was developed. And that's very important, that, you know, to stay and to be available. And this is a snapshot of that system. You can reach it yourself. And each aquifer has at least some description. There are quite some projects done in the last 10 years on an aquifer scale, and those also Jeff projects mainly in Africa, but also in South America, UNIMEDEN, and in Southeast Europe. This is an example of Southeast Europe. And much more depth analysis has been done there. I should also mention a legal aspect of transboundary aquifers because it's international, and there is a UN Water Course Convention, but it includes groundwater in a very limited way. There is a very strong regional convention, so-called Helsinki Convention, and it's extended globally recently. And there is a resolution on law transboundary aquifers by UN General Assembly, but it's still draft. There are few regional and bilateral agreements, including Guarani Aquifer, which is just ratified, but very few of them, just 6, 7 of them, unfortunately. Look globally. If we look at the aquifers, large aquifers in the world, which are under the stress, we will see that most of them are transboundary. And so this is something for regional and global analysis to take along. What is very important to convince stakeholders and especially decision makers to take actions on invisible groundwater. Because if you see surface water, river, if you see that your neighbor upstream is building dam, you will see it from the space immediately. If you see that level is decreasing in a river or the river is polluted, you can take action. But groundwater you don't see. So we need a strong analysis on risk analysis on transboundary aquifers and to make priorities. Because some aquifers are very large. So this is Northern Europe, and this is actually one connected aquifer, but how to define transboundary impact zones and to say to decision makers, to politicians, look, here we have a problem, and here we need to concentrate. So my concluding remarks. Firstly, keep fostering international cooperation. Climate change and human impact of groundwater resources do not stop at administrative borders. We need to place transboundary aquifer in the context of the relevant broader societal and environmental issues, for instance, climate change or water security, or food, energy, water, nexus, etc. Talking just about groundwater doesn't help really. It's very important to take and use a multidisciplinary approach. Everything needs to be based on facts and collaboration mechanism. It's, politicians, even they can be willing to sit together, but then if they don't have facts about the groundwater, then it's difficult to talk. In order to collect these facts, we need to take care about groundwater monitoring because the world is changing all of the time, and also groundwater systems are changing. Use international protocols as a framework. I just mentioned a few of them, but also informal local agreement as a building block, because we see a lot of good cooperation on a local scale. So these are concluding remarks for scientists, and just a few for in general. Joint assessment and management of transboundary groundwater is vital for world security and political stability in many parts of the world. I said half of the population depends on groundwater. As human activities, climate change are increasing pressure on groundwater resources, international cooperation and knowledge sharing are crucial for tackling serious pollution and depletion problems worldwide. And last one, only by working together, we can substantially increase visibility and improve state of precious groundwater resources. Building trust asks for understanding and patience. It's all about people and connecting people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neno. I think we have time for questions or comments, reaction from the audience. Well, if not, I will just break the ice. So, Neno, how do you think we can include uncertainty in this type of global view of aquifers and surface system?
Uncertainty, yes. Well, you know, it's very much related to facts, because if you want to say, okay, this aquifer is under risk, you need to be able to prove that. And again, for surface water, for lakes and rivers, it's easy. For groundwater, it's much more difficult because you have to drill the boreholes, you have to take a sample, and then it's a question how representative your sample is for the whole region. And then is very much a question of trust. But not without reason, next year is going to be a year of groundwater making invisible visible. How to make invisible groundwater visible. And I think that including water as a vital resource in all kinds of security instruments and mechanisms is going to be crucial.
Okay. Other questions from the audience, or we want to postpone them at the end? Let's see. Okay, so if not, many thanks, Neno. I hope you will stay with us until the end, so maybe people will ask you something more. So now we will move to the second speaker of today. The second speaker is Dr. Yufa Wang. Dr. Wang is a professor of the Xi'an University. He is Dean of the Global Health Institute, Doctoral Supervisor of the School of Public Health. He is an expert consultant of the World Health Organization and is also Vice President of the Chinese Society on Global Health. His research interests include epidemiology, nutrition, childhood obesity, and global health. And Dr. Wang is a leading expert with international influence in the fields of childhood obesity and nutritional epidemiology. So his talk of today will be about fighting the COVID-19 pandemic and global health challenges and opportunities. So many thanks. And the floor is yours.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the conference organizer for inviting me to give this presentation. I hope that you can see my PPT. Can you all? The chair, can you see my PPT?
Yes, yes, sir. We can.
Okay. Okay, I have about 40 slides. There are quite a lot of information, but I don't want to overwhelm you with all the information. I just want to share some key messages, and also some of the information includes some study about the data, in particular to help us to think about some very important questions. I have been working in the United States for about 20 years as a faculty department chair and center director. Recently, I returned to Xi'an Jiaotong University, work here full-time, in particular to help lead a new institution set up here, that's the Global Health Institute, which is very relevant for today's topic we are going to discuss. That's the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the global health, some of the challenges and opportunities we are facing. I will try to cover the following topic. I will share with you some updates about the COVID pandemic, In particular, I want to focus to talk about the impact of this pandemic on the United Nations 2030 SDGs. I also want to share with you some of the key lessons we can learn because of this pandemic, and also the very different response by different governments and societies worldwide, and also the current ongoing reality in different countries, which may help us to try to think about more about how we should handle the challenges now and in the future, and in particular also how we may guide our students and our faculty in our institutions to conduct related research and contribute to the society, not only particular certain countries, but worldwide. This is because to face such global challenges, we need international cooperation, even though there are quite also many challenges for such cooperation, especially during this very special and difficult time for people in different parts of the world. Towards the end, I will share with you some of the recent efforts made by Xi'an Jiaotong University to promote international collaboration and global health. And at the end, some conclusion remarks. I want to share with you some take-home messages at the beginning. First of all, I think all of us need to ask ourselves and think, and also ask our students to think about what we should do today and in the future in face of this global challenge as an individual, university, society, and mankind, not only for ourselves, but also for our loved ones and also for the future generation. Here, I want to share with you this quote from the Secretary General of the United Nations, which I think is very important for all of us to know and to think about it in our daily work. He stated in a recent report regarding the SDG, he said, everything we do during the current crisis, which is the COVID-19, must be with a strong focus on building more equal, inclusive, and sustainable economies and societies that are more resilient in the face of pandemics, climate change, many other global challenges we face. No matter what major or field we are focusing on, we all will face such global pandemic and many global challenges. In the next couple of slides, I will share with you some of the global challenges, not only COVID, but other ones we need to address. The current ongoing COVID pandemic, its impact on society is very severe and dramatic, including this why today we have this meeting online, but cannot on site. We should also be prepared. COVID will likely to persist for many years. In particular, we need to be prepared for coming second wave this winter and also in the years to come, even though we hope that vaccine can provide us very useful approach to fight the pandemic. But we need to consider a large part of the world may still have very limited resources. Even just one country or several countries, they cannot control this pandemic. Many of the other parts of the world will be affected. This we need to keep in mind. There are some lessons learned help us to think about how we should train our next generation students. Also at present, how we should work together regardless of our political system or culture, our history. Third, we need to take vigorous public health intervention measures and promote global health to fight this ongoing pandemic and the future potential ones that we will face. In particular, I will use several slides to share with you, talk about the impact of COVID on the United Nations 2030 SDGs, which is the common goals for all countries and also for all human beings. When we face such global challenges, we need international collaboration. We cannot emphasize enough how important it is for such international cooperation. COVID teaches all of us a very clear, strong lesson. At the end, we do need to educate the next generation will to face the challenges and also to take advantage of the opportunities we have. Co-ID and the other public health problem teach us well. Public health and global health need interdisciplinary approaches and international cooperation. That's also why for university president and for university educators to try to train our future generation students to appreciate life and to understand the many factors that influence people's health and the well-being of people in different parts of the world, and to work together. This includes not only the individual level factors, but also many society and also international level factors, including globalization and technology development. The current ongoing crisis, this slide probably can share with you the most recent data that's up to November 21st. Worldwide, right now, we have about 57 million cases, 1.4 million deaths. There are also large differences across countries, as you can see, with different color of these countries. These slides listed the top 10 most severely affected countries. As you can see, that the United States as the first most affected country, and India followed. On the other hand, actually, China, even though has the largest population with 1.4 billion people, China right now only have 86,000 cases and less than 5,000 deaths. There are quite a lot of research try to examine the impact of co-ID on the global economy and on individual level economy. Overwhelmingly, they indicate that co-ID has a dramatic impact on the local and the global economy. For example, this slide shows how severe the global GDP growth has been affected by COVID based on recent data. This shows the impact of COVID is much, much greater than the other recessions that we have experienced in the past several decades. Now it's important for us to all know about this SDG, which is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. To promote global health is important to help achieve the SDGs. This is a quote from the recent report by the United Nations by the Secretary General. The 2030 Agenda for SDG was launched in the year of 2015 to end poverty and set the world on a path of peace, prosperity, and opportunity for all on a healthy planet. These SDGs include 17 goals, which will need the transformation of the finance, economic, and political systems that will contribute to the effort to achieve these goals. However, COVID-19 is such a crisis which make it even harder for us to achieve these goals. The 17 SDGs as listed here, I will not read all of them, but you probably can see that many of these are related to health, public health. For example, the first one, that's poverty, which will contribute or influence health. The other is no hunger. And the number 3, that's a good health. So other ones, including such as quality education and clean water. And also at the end, for example, the 17th goal, that's the international partnership to address the challenges we are facing. Co-ID impacts on SDGs based on recent data. For example, due to COVID, we, for the first time, see an increase in poverty in the world over the past several decades, even though before, due to the effort, we towards the goal to achieve reduce poverty by 2030. COVID also increased food insecurity, illness, and deaths in many countries. COVID increased inequality and sustainable consumptions. This consumption not only includes consumptions of the individual food, but also the natural resources. COVID affects international partnership and cooperation. Due to COVID, potentially it's even harder for developed countries or industrial countries to help developing countries because they are facing the constraints of resources and also the challenges for communication and for closer or more contact. Such make it even harder for us to promote international collaboration, especially at the current situation. And also we predict in the near future, even though people may recognize the importance of collaboration, but in reality, when individual countries or societies need to prioritize the challenges that they face, some countries may put their own need above the need of the other countries. There are quite many lessons learned concerning this pandemic and the related consequences in different countries. Due to time, I will only list a few of them here. Number one, public health and global health is critical for our society, for the world. Before, probably people may not recognize how important public health is or how vulnerable our society worldwide may be. COVID teaches us a hard lesson. There are some problems, such as COVID infectious disease, require global cooperation. Something happen in one place or in one country can very quickly spread to the other part of the world. No country alone can do well without such a collaboration. Again, COVID teach us such a lesson in a very hard and clear way, even though some countries or some individuals may still not fully appreciate this challenge or take the needed approaches to promote global cooperation. Number three, effective governance and public cooperation are important in fighting the pandemic. Next, I will have some data or results to show you the different actions, policies taken by some countries and the related consequences that their society are facing. Number four, our healthcare systems need significant investment, especially at the primary level and in developing countries. Developing countries are much more vulnerable than the other countries in the face of this pandemic. We all need to keep such in mind. For example, those countries in Africa, in Asia, they need more help at this critical moment. If other countries cannot help these countries, their own will be hurt at the end as well. Number five, fiscal and financial balance are essential. This also makes it challenging for low-income countries. Number six, domestic food security is critical. This reminds us this is the basic need of a human being. Number seven, new technologies such as digital tools, big data, AI, etc. are powerful tools in fighting such pandemic. Some countries like China had been taking advantage of such new technologies, including big data, in the effort to fight the pandemic. This slide shows you as one example of the big differences in practice by government and the public in face of the COVID. This in particular shows you the percentage of people who say they will always wear a mask when going out. You can see the big difference by distinct countries. In general, in a number of Asian countries, people are do well in wearing mask, but in North America, people are not doing well. They at a certain time they have been debating whether should people wear a mask. It's even become a political issue, even though it should be a public health issue. This slide shows you there are some factors that combined have hampered international efforts in fighting the COVID pandemic. In particular, the trade war between US and China, which not only influenced these two countries, but also influenced some other countries in this effort. The United States is paying a big price, not only financially, but also in terms of the loss of life. By last night, the United States has reported 12 million cases and 256,000 deaths. On the other hand, take China as one example. By last night, I checked the WHO data. By last night, China has reported 86,000 cases, less than 5,000 deaths. This is because in China, the government and the society have been taking very dramatic, effective, and widespread actions to fight the pandemic. not only the government do its part, but also the general citizens, everyone who take their part in terms of how they do, what they do. This is also why at this moment in China, even though at the beginning of the last session, the chairman said all over the world we are the same. I want to share with you with a pleasure. No, it's not always all the same. I returned to China in August from the United States. Since then, I have been here for several months. I traveled frequently, going different cities. In China right now, the majority of people almost returned to their normal life. People, they start to work. Universities, schools open. People can have meetings, conference. People, they travel, even for tours, which is very different from what I know in the United States before I returned to China, and also what I know in many parts of the world, including Europe. This demonstrates the big difference that a society, including its government and citizen, take, and then how may influence the consequence and what it may embrace. There are many lessons that people can learn from the success in China in fighting COVID-19. Because of the time, I will not be able to share with you. But overall, this shows we can fight the pandemic. One example or one lesson why China has been successful is because China had a very strong governance structure related to health, including its CDC system and including its central government, local government agencies, and also the strong support they have from the average citizens. COVID also tells us another good lesson. Investment in health is very important and the return is high. And also if we cannot do well, the cost will be high as well. We need to save life. There are many actions we need to take at this moment, also in the future. This slide lists some of the measures we should take. This also reminds us we should also think about the other problems we are facing now and also in the future. COVID and such infectious disease may pass, but the other global problem will continue with us, such as pollution, climate change, changing food environment, and also the transformation in people's lifestyle in the environment. All these, including aging, will influence the global disease burden and also influence the health disparities. All such need to take international collaboration and effort to fight. Country alone cannot. We also keep in mind the new opportunities, in particular, the development of technologies and the new ideas. Such also need international collaboration and share the technology, share the benefit, rather than to fight for individual countries' own personal or individual benefit. We should think about the common interest of mankind and also try to promote the development of such new technology to serve the health and serve the benefit of people over the world. I also want to take a moment for us to know about one speech made by the Chinese President Xi Jinping when he visited the United Nations office in Geneva several years ago in January 2017. I think today, at this moment, when we read again some of the statements he made at that time, will help us to think about better what we should do now and in the future. Also, what we can know about the commitment made by the Chinese government and also by the Chinese people and also by the universities in China and also the intellectuals, professors, university presidents. Many of us are committed to serve and promote international collaboration. Xi Jinping said at that time, mankind is in an era of major development as well as profound transformation and changes. On the other hand, mankind is also in an era of numerous challenges and increasing risks. We should build a world of common prosperity through win-win cooperation. We should promote the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. China is committed to uphold world peace and pursue common development, foster partnership, and also committed to multilateralism. China is ready to work with all the other countries. And also we need to build a community of a shared future based on the effort by many generations in the coming years. China right now is the largest donor to the WHO because the United States dropped out from the WHO. China is fully committed to support international collaboration, including especially regarding health. Many of you probably already know about the Belt and Road. That's why we have this meeting. Xi'an Jiaotong University in Xi'an, with the strategical location of the starting point of Silk Road, is to make special effort to promote this international collaboration and for global health. And the university has been making a number of efforts. In the next few slides, I will share with you some of the efforts made by Xi'an Jiaotong University, including establish the Global Health Institute, which I'm leading. This is established in the year of 2016. We also established the Health Sub-Alliance. You all are welcome to join this Health Sub-Alliance if you have not yet. At this moment, we have about 20 members. We hope in the near future we will increase the membership. In the past, we hesitate to increase it. Xi'an Jiaotong University has hosted several international conferences, including 3 international global health congress in the past 3 years. The next one is going to be held next May. You all are welcome to join this conference. I also hope you to share these messages with your colleagues in your university to encourage them to try to join us in this conference next year, either on site or online. Let's hope COVID will be controlled by next May. Xi'an Jiaotong University has been conducting medical education for international students. Many of these students are from developing countries with scholarship provided by the university and by the Chinese government. I hope some of you may also share these messages with some others. Xi'an Jiaotong University is affiliated hospitals have been sending medical aid teams to developing countries, in particular to a number of African countries, have helped improve the health of local people. Xi'an Jiaotong University have also made special efforts in fighting the COVID pandemic, including some international collaboration in research and exchange of ideas and approaches. At the end, I want to conclude by quoting several statements by the US former President JFK. In a crisis, be aware of a danger, but also recognize the opportunity. And also quote by President Xi Jinping of China, building a community of a shared future for mankind, and also statement by the Secretary General of the United Nations. We should face this pandemic, but to recover better together, winning the race against climate change and decisive tackling poverty and inequality. We in universities need to train and empower the generation to face such global challenges and work together for mankind's future. There are several 4 suggestions I want to make here. I will not read all of them, but I hope that you will share the messages and may also have to think about it. We need to empower our students to master systematic and comprehensive ability to deal with global challenges and new technologies and opportunities. We need to educate students to have a global vision and a sense of social humanity and global responsibilities, not put just one country ahead or first, but we need to think about the common interests of all humankind. Universities need to set up new mechanisms to provide students with this comprehensive education and training. Students in the health field also need to understand the different global challenges and opportunities. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for this very inspiring presentation. Unfortunately, we are running a little bit late, so maybe we can save for more time for later for questions. So you can see that now I am under a different name. So it's not just I have the problem connection, it's just that I want you to see a different office in the Politecnico. I'm just kidding, of course. Okay, so now let's move to the next speaker of today. Last but not least is Dr. Laura Piragnolte. Laura is a professor of physics and astronomy in the College of Science at Purdue University. By the way, I think that now it's more or less 6 a.m. Laura time, so I thank Laura very, very much for being with us so early. So Laura, she's the president of Interpor, the International Society for Porous Media, and she's the current vice president of North America of the International Society of Rock Mechanics and Rock Engineering. Laura's interests include experimental and theoretical seismic wave propagation, laboratory rock mechanics, microfluidics, particle swarm, and fluid flow through material. My understanding is that also she has currently been elected last year as fellow from the American Geophysical Union. So congratulations, and Laura, now the floor is all for you.
Okay, thank you. And you can see my slides, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure before I start. Well, thank you, and I thank the organizers for inviting me here to speak on behalf of the International Society for Porous Media on the role of porous media in the security for society. I'm going to first just start by giving a little background on Interpor and their missions and goals, and then what do we define as a porous medium, and then a few examples of how being able to understand the structure and processes that affect porous media play a role in different security aspects for society. So let's start with an introduction to Interpor. So Interpor is an acronym for the International Society of Porous Media, which was established in 2008 as a nonprofit scientific organization for porous media research practitioners who come from academia, industry, and government and span a diverse range of disciplines. Our mission is to provide a platform to bring together researchers and practitioners who are studying, developing, and even manufacturing complex porous media to exchange information on science and technology developments. To do this, we have national groups. We have currently 16 national groups. 4 of these were formed recently and 4 are under formation, and these include Austria, Canada, Sweden, Saudi Arabia, and Greece. And the way that we help foster this exchange of information is through our annual meetings. We hold the annual meeting at different locations around the world in order to facilitate different scientists from different countries to be able to attend. This year, we held it online as a virtual meeting for the first time. And next year, it will be some form of virtual, maybe hybrid meeting in Edinburgh. In 2022, it will be in Qingdao, China. And then it comes to the US in 2023 at one of our national labs. If you would like any additional information on porous media and the other platforms that we have for exchanging information, feel free to drop me an email or use the website that's in the lower right-hand corner of the slide. So what do we refer to as a porous medium? Well, the simplest definition is that it's some medium that has interstices, which means voids, holes, or cracks. And these voids or holes can be connected or they can be isolated. A few examples I'm showing here range from textiles. How do we weave materials and fabrics for clothing and other products where they need to be breathable? There's applications related to vision, which are contact lenses, which have holes on the order of nanometers. Our bodies are vast networks of capillary and vascular structure that transport different fluids to different parts of the body. And then you can see that the pore shapes in some natural materials, such as in eggshells and wood, are very different. The one in eggshells almost look like a fibrous material. And then, of course, you have manufactured materials such as ceramic, which also has pores. Now, because all of these materials have pores, it means they can be easily altered or perturbed due to different processes, such as mechanical, chemical, thermal, biological, and hydrological. So what do I mean? Well, if you have a porous media and you put it under stress, you can change the pore geometry, which then can affect the flow. You have chemical processes which can erode out your porous medium, or it can clog it up with material that would maybe prevent the movement of material. And so porous media can be affected independently by any one of these physical or chemical processes, or sometimes they're coupled processes which alter your media. So how does porous media play a role in security? I'm going to give examples of the role of porous media in different aspects related to health, energy, food, and water security. And in some cases, you'll see that maybe what I've placed under food or water is also impacted by energy or also impacts health. So let's start with health. And as we've seen in many of the talks today, the big topic obviously is the pandemic. And what's interesting is that one of our first lines of defense against the spread of the disease is a mask. And what is the purpose of the mask? It's to prevent the exchange of the virus. Well, many of you might be familiar with the different types of masks that exist, which there's the N95, there's the medical mask, and then some people use the stylish gaiter. If we look at these in detail, what we find is they're complex porous media. We see that they're a collection of fibers which are distributed randomly to create very complex flow paths through the media. They can be single layered, multi-layered, and have a range of pore sizes. Down in the middle here, we're showing different scales of what they call aerosols. The virus is smaller than 1/10 of a micron, but it can also attach and travel on larger size aerosols, which we try to block by wearing these masks. And so our first line of protection depends on us being able to understand how particles are transported through this fibrous porous media, and also can you treat the porous media to help trap such particles. And so for the N95, it has the extra feature that it's designed to electrostatically attract the small particles to aid in the trapping. So other aspects of health security related to porous media, well, as I mentioned earlier, our bodies are porous media. One example that I'm showing here is the vascular tissue in the brain. How you transport blood flow through the brain affects your ability to get oxygen and glucose to different portions. There's porous media studies related to sensors. These design a porous network in order to take samples and see if you have certain viruses or to diagnose different diseases. There is health issues related to bones. 1.5 million bone fractures occur in elderly people in the US at a cost of $18 billion a year. And so being able to learn how to strengthen and transport the important nutrients to strengthen bones is an area of porous media research. And then one other example in terms of monitoring health, there's a move to have wearable devices. Well, wearable devices at some point will have to have some sort of textile layer or something that will be on the body. And again, you want to have something that's comfortable to wear and breathable for the person. So porous media plays a role in health security, just in terms of the body, but as well as in monitoring and characterizing the state of health, and also designing barriers to prevent the transmission of disease. So next, I'll just give a few examples of porous media and energy security. The largest porous medium on Earth is the Earth itself. Whether you're producing conventional, unconventional, or renewable energy sources, we have to understand the structure of the porous media in the subsurface and how it's perturbed as we either pump fluids in or out. Because when you're pumping fluids in and out, you're changing the pressure of the fluids, which affects the stresses in the subsurface and can lead to unintended consequences such as induced seismicity, which threatens the security of housing structures, buildings, and other facilities. In addition, when you're either producing different types of energy, you also have waste. If it's doing unconventionals, you have the wastewater fluid, which comes from the hydraulic fracturing, which has to be re-injected to the subsurface to isolate it. And you also have the storage of nuclear waste also done in the subsurface. So in all of these cases, you have to interact with the porous media, maybe at multiple scales, from the type of canisters that you build to isolate the waste to the rock itself. And then finally, there's porous media in other aspects of energy, which hydrogen fuel cells has a fibrous porous media, and solid state batteries. And so one thing we see is that there's some commonality. Here we're looking at the fibrous gas diffusion layer in a hydrogen fuel cell. We saw that we had a fibrous, different type of fiber in the medical mask, and we also saw that fibrous structure in the egg shell. So one important aspect of intrapore and at our meetings is to bring people from these different communities where their pore structures might be the same, but their applications are different, to understand the computational approaches, imaging approaches, and experimental techniques to understand them. So next I'm going to move into aspects of porous media related to food. Obviously, agriculture is one, and I put that under water. And so here I just talk about some aspects where understanding, again, the structure and how a porous media can be altered affects such issues such as food processing. And one nice example is potato chips, okay, which we know can maybe not so good for your health, but by studying it from a porous media aspect, companies were able to find ways of using less harmful fats and oils in order to crisp them while maintaining taste. Another aspect of food is that, at least in many countries, when you get food, it's sold in plastic containers. And as we know, plastics are bad for the environment. They're hard to degrade. They're showing up inside the food chain. And so there's push on to use more natural material in the food industry, such as this example of using a certain type of leaf in order to construct plates. But in order to do that, you have to understand the pore structure, how it deforms, and how it seals to different liquids. Another example is you can take the waste from food products in order to develop materials for other industries. For one example is chitin, which comes from the shells of crab and shrimp, and they can reconstitute it into these fibrous microspheres, which then serve as a platform for platinum, which is used in catalytic reactions and also for storage and for storing energy. You have other issues, the porous media, how you store different foods and liquids in it, ultimately can affect the quality of their taste and the lifetime of how long you can store it. So these are just a few examples of porous media in food and related to food waste that have been worked on recently. And then the last topic is water, and we heard a lot about water today. And one of the important aspects, in addition to water scarcity, is clean water. And here is where porous media plays a significant role, because to try to clean water, we use different pore structures in order to filter out different particle sizes. And so this is a nice graph from Lee et al. 2016, which shows the size of the particles, and the units in here is microns, and the different scales of filtration that you need. So if you're just trying to filter out sort of grit and maybe pollen, you're on the order of hundreds of microns and you just use particle filtration. Where now if you start going down 2 to 3 orders of magnitude on the 1 micron scale, you have bacteria, you need microfiltration. For viruses now, we're getting submicron on the nanoscale, and then even smaller when you have endotoxins and metals. And so clean water is a security issue, and so there's different types of filtration processes. A lot of research has been done traditionally on ceramic filters. People are developing filters from graphene. In this case, it's selecting out oils to trap them in the filter. Other research has been done on using nanoparticles called nanorust, which take and attract arsenic out of water. And then there's been some recent research on using wood to desalinate water. So one idea is to take seawater, take out the salt and make it drinkable, but people are looking for processes that use cheap materials, don't require a lot of energy, and can be used around the world with local materials. So in addition to clean water, in terms of water security, obviously water plays a big role in agriculture. The plant itself, you can view as a porous media and how it uptakes fluids and nutrients into the system, but you have to recognize that the plant is sitting in a second porous medium, which is the soil. Research is being done on how the root structure and how it forms affects not only how it takes up water from the soil, but it can compact the soil, shutting down the flow paths, which would bring rainwater down in order to provide fluids for the plants. And so when you think about porous media, usually it's not just one, but you have an interconnection between them. And then you end up with these coupled processes where one is affecting the flow paths in another. And then finally, as we heard in the earlier talk, a mention of groundwater depletion. As they show on the map, there's lots of areas around the world which are experiencing drought, and they're depleting their aquifers. And what happens then is you end up with what's called subsidence, sinkage of the earth. And here's just a map from Jakarta, a region where you had 1/4 meter to 4 meters of the surface subsiding. And so this is obviously a water security issue, but it can also impact energy security. The black lines on this map that you're looking at are a natural gas pipeline. What they've measured that due to some drought, they had subsidence up to 1/3 meter. So you can imagine that this pipe network now, the security of it, the ability to transport your gas securely and safety, is being affected by a groundwater issue, which is related to changes in the porous media over time. So thank you for your attention. I hope you have sort of a takeaway of what we mean by porous media and how the pores can be perturbed by physical and chemical processes. When we're talking about security, porous media impact water, energy, food, and health security, and their response can be linked and interconnected through different porous media. And hopefully, another takeaway method is that if you're working on porous media related to these energy issues, we'd love to come hear about your work at the International Society of Porous Media, where there are scientists and engineers looking to understand the structure and the behavior of porous media in order to engineer solutions related to societal security. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Very inspiring talk. So while we are waiting for our question, what do you think it's, at least for you, the most challenges, the more where you will focus your research during the next year?
Me personally? So one thing that I'm focused on right now, there's several aspects. One is related to CO2 sequestration in the subsurface, where obviously people are, in the subsurface you have fractures in rock, fractures can occur. And one idea is that maybe if the CO2 started to escape, it would react with local fluids, precipitate out and seal in the fracture system. And what we're finding is on the small scale, because I work in the laboratory, is that a lot of models sort of neglect the effect of gravity on how two fluids will mix and form precipitates, or even where precipitates can form in a fracture. And so we're seeing that just the orientation of the fracture, because of the role of gravity, affects whether you could seal across the whole fracture plane or just vertically, it would just end up in narrow channels. We're also looking at the ability to of how pre-existing fractures affect your interpretation of where your induced seismicity might be coming from in some of these subsurface processes. On top of that, we're looking at failure in porous media and how we monitor that geophysically. So not all aspects of porous media involve flow, but a lot of them involve just strictly straight deformation. And can you predict if failure is about to occur? And so that's sort of a topic here I didn't really cover in the overview, but it's in, can you get precursors to failure through some monitoring measure? So if you know a building's going to fail, a dam's going to fail, that you have some way of taking preventive measures to reduce the damage and injury that could occur.
Thank you. Well, let's see. Some additional question to all the speakers of today from the audience. You can just turn on your microphone. Wow, our audience is very quiet today. Well, if yes.
Monica, it's me. It's not Monica, it's Alberto. I'm sorry. I'm using your computer. I was able to.
Well, now it's working again. Okay, good. Thank you.
Anyway, sorry. Well, I would like to ask a question to Dr. Wang. And when he was talking about the COVID evolution in the environment, I kind of missed it, and I apologize for that. What do you think are the main issues and aspects related to forecasting and prediction models associated with that?
Okay, thank you for the question. I will not pretend as an expert about the modeling regarding the COVID pandemic, but on the other hand, my team have been conducting some research about COVID, and also my own team in the past have been doing a lot of modeling, in particular regarding child obesity. I will say, on one hand, such modeling are very useful in terms of help us project how the situation may be, or what are different intervention options, actions we take, what results we may have. On the other hand, there are quite many uncertainties that may influence the reality at the end, how the results look like. That's what I probably want to say on balance. On one hand, to help make some policy changes, help educate the public. Such modeling the results are very useful to tell people, for example, if you do not wear a mask, if you do not keep social distancing, how serious the problem may be. On the other hand, we do should be cautious to interpret such modeling results. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, there is a question from the chat to all of you, to all the presenters of today, and I'm just reading the question. So, do you think we can use your insights to help us to be more strategic or less tactical as we prepare for future pandemics? I don't know if Neno want to say something. Okay, Dr. Wang.
Thank you for the question. I think in some of my slides, I already made some statements. To summarize, I probably just say three things we should do. One thing is, in one of my slides, I already listed a number of things each of us should do, even as just individual. On the other hand, the society or some country government, they should take actions. Those actions, for example, some related to even fiscal program or policies to support the public health actions. That's number one. Number two, I will say, especially for those of us as academia, in the academic field, professors or university presidents, we probably want to engage or educate, empower our faculty and students to take our share to this pandemic, to do even just the daily things, the kind of role model we want to show the others that we know the consequence, or we know the many science behind it, what we should do on one hand. On the other hand, we should try to engage our students to have this broader or wider perspective regarding the society we have today and also in the future. Probably I think the very important lesson COVID teaches us is, the world is very small. Okay, we all are just very well connected. We will depend on the other people, their house or their problem can become our problem, maybe just by one flight. That's a reality. On the other hand, this also teaches us how dramatic this impact can be. And also on the other hand, related lesson we learned. Such a problem need to have a lot of people work together. If for example, certain community, if some people that are infected, if they do not take the action or the society cannot take the action, that will become a danger for the others. That's number two. Number three, I do hope that with the new elected president in the United States, as the most influential, powerful country, the United States may take some different actions in the coming year, which will not be a blast for people in the United States. I have stayed in the United States for more than 25 years. I still have many of my friends, my colleagues there in the United States. I think some of the new actions the United States take will also help many people in the other part of the world. The United States, we do hope the United States will take this leadership and also try to contribute to help us to solve these global problems. We need influential countries like the United States, China, or the other European countries that they can not only protect their own people, but also protect or support the other people, especially those in low-income countries, Africa, some Asian countries, for example. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else want to add something?
I would say from a research perspective, there are a lot of, this won't be the last pandemic, right? That's a lot of people are saying there'll be other things that will come in the future. And so right now we have to look at what worked, what didn't work. Big thing is air circulation in buildings. In the US, a big economic impact was restaurants, and a lot of transmission comes down to what the airflow patterns are. And so there's a lot of basic research that we should be doing to see what worked and what failed, and where do we need to make improvements to address these issues when they come again in the future.
Thank you. Some other questions or comments? Well, if not, I would like to thank all the speakers of today. So thank you really, really very much for joining us, and also all the people that decided to participate to this section. And well, what we have discussed today, I would say it's only the tip of the iceberg of what it is planned for the next week and for the upcoming month. So please join us during the next days, and I promise you it will be worth, and you will be pleasantly entertaining by the quality, depth and variety of talks that we have prepared. And starting from tomorrow, we will have a section about security for natural system. It will be 9 a.m. Italian time. So I guess that maybe Giuliano want to say something to...
Monica, thank you very much indeed for your chairmanship. I think that everything has gone very smoothly, and even the issues that we have dealt in this session were very interesting, at least for me. But I'm a management engineer, so I'm not so. I hadn't deep knowledge of the issues that you were discussing. So thank you very much indeed. I hope that we will have a very interesting week together. It has been a great pleasure to have people discussing, listening, and coming from all over the Alliance across different continents. So thank you, Monica, for your support. And I wish you to everybody a pleasant week, night, day, and afternoon, depending on the part of the world you are. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you also to our friends and Professor Shi Wan coming from Xianjiao Tong University. Bye-bye to everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, good care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.